Welcome back to the lesson. In our previous video, we've successfully created our manage student classes view, and we go ahead and load our default data table. And in this video, we're going to be populating our data tables with the dynamic data that we fetch from our database, which is our classes information. We fetch our classes information from our database and pass it to our manage classes view as classes. So now we're going to be viewing our student classes right inside of our manage student section, which is right here on our data table. So let's go ahead and do that. Now let's head back to our code, and now let's go ahead and reduce some of the tabs. Data tables, we're not going to be needing this. Admin dashboard, clean it. Create class views, we're not going to be needing this as well, but only our manage classes view. So now we are inside of our manage classes view. As you can see, we've already changed our title, our page title, to manage student classes. Well, let's actually go ahead and make it just managed classes, something like this. And then now for our data tables title, let's go ahead and change this to view classes info, something like this. And then for the paragraph, which is this text right here, we're not going to be needing that, so let's go ahead and get rid of that. Just erased our paragraph, something like this. Let's go ahead and say view word wrap to get rid of overflow. And now let's go ahead and work on our table header section, which is right here, our table header sections. Let's go ahead and specify our headings that we're going to be needing for our class. Our first heading is going to be a serial number. Second is going to be the class name. The third heading is going to be our sections, and then the fourth is going to be our action. Okay, so let's go ahead and specify that. So let's go ahead and change this to, let me go ahead and use the hash symbol as our serial number, and then our second heading should be class name, something like this. And then our third heading is going to be section, like so, and then the fourth is going to be action, something like this. And then we're not going to be needing the remaining ones. Let's go ahead and get rid of them. Okay, and then for the body, we're only going to be needing a single row because our data is going to be dynamic. So let's go ahead and get rid of the remaining rows. So let's go ahead and start erasing this rows, like so. As you can see, we have a long way to go. Okay, all these rows, we're not going to be needing them. Okay, let's delete this. Okay, let's delete this row. Delete this one and you. Okay, actually let me go ahead and scroll down because we have a long way to go. Okay, I think this should be the end of the rows, so let's go ahead and erase this. Alright, a single row is enough for us. Okay, we have how many headings? 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's go ahead and specify 4 columns down here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's go ahead and get rid of the remaining 2. Alright, like so. So now let's go ahead and save our file. Let's go ahead and take a look. Refresh our page. Yes, as you can see, now we have basically 4 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. Okay, now let's go ahead and populate our data tables with our student class that we fetch from this our database, which is right here, our student classes. So let's go ahead and call this variable since we have access to it in this our view, manage classes view. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, now let me come over here and then use one of the for each blade directives. So let's go ahead and say at for each. Okay, and then let's go ahead and say at end for each, like so. So now inside of our parentheses, I'm going to go ahead and specify the condition. For each classes, this is our variable that we passed to our view. Let me go ahead and copy that. Let's use it as a variable. Paste this. For each classes as key, which is going to be equals to a class, like so. So basically what this condition is saying is for each classes, this variable classes that we use here is actually this variable that we pass to our view. And as you can see, we fetch everything inside of our classes table right here. And our classes table inside of our database contains multiple classes. So therefore this our classes variable that we use is going to contain multiple classes, so they are going to be stored as an array. So basically what this condition is saying is for each class inside our classes table, so it's going to be fetching each class inside of our classes table and displaying them one after the other. So that's basically what this condition is saying. So let's go ahead and end our condition for each condition after our row right here. So let's go ahead and indent this small. Let me indent this back small like this. Let me go ahead and get rid of this white space like so. Okay, now let's go ahead and start with our serial number. Copy this, and then let's go ahead and delete this, something like this. And then let's go ahead and paste our variable key and then say +1. So what this basically means is, as I've told you, that this our classes variable, it's an array. It's an index array. An index array always starts from 0 to n. So basically this key variable stores our array's index starting from 0 to the total length of the array. And this classes variable stores our value. So actually when we are done with this functionality, you will understand this code even better. So let's go ahead and continue with that. So let me go ahead and copy this variable. Copy. And now here, let me go ahead and say paste this now. And then now inside of our class, what do we want to show? Our second heading is our class name. So let's go ahead and call our class name, which is class name right here. So let's go ahead and say class, actually single s, class, like so. So it should be single. Okay, so let's say class name, which is this column right here inside of our database. Class name. So now we should have 1, 2, up to the total number of classes that we may have in the future. So let's go ahead and continue with our code. And now after showing our class name, our next heading is our section. So let's go ahead and copy this. Copy. Let's go ahead and replace this with that. And then this time around, we're going to go ahead and call our section right here. So section, let's go ahead and say section like so. And then our action, let me go ahead and get rid of this. We will work on the action column later. So let's go ahead and save our file. Let's say save, and now let's go back to our application, and now let's refresh. Yes, as you can see, now we have our serial number 1, 2, and then we have our class name to class 1, class 2, and section A, and our action column is empty. So now let's go ahead and work on our action section. Actually, we're going to be adding delete and edit icons right here. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's navigate to our project theme, and we can find those icons inside of our backend theme. So let's navigate to our backend theme. Under icons right here, let's go ahead and use font awesome. Okay, let's go ahead and find our edit icon by holding down Control plus F, and then let's go ahead and say edit, find edit. Yes, as you can see now, it highlighted some edit icons for us. So let's go ahead and find one. Okay, I think this one will work better. So let's go ahead and say inspect. Okay, this is our icon. I think it's down below here. Okay, where are you? Okay, this is it. As you can see, it's highlighted. So let's go ahead and right click on this source code and say edit as HTML. And now let's go ahead and copy everything. Copy. Now after copying our icon, so let's go back to our source code. Under our last column, which is for the action, let's go ahead and wrap it inside an anchor tag. Let's say a anchor tag, a link. Okay, now let's go ahead and paste our icon inside like so. Let me change this href to hashtag like so, and now let's go ahead and save our icon. Save, and now let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, now let's refresh our application. Yes, as you can see, we are having our edit icon right here. Of course, we need to adjust it, but first let me go ahead and add our delete icon beside our edit icon, and then we're going to go ahead and make the adjustment all at once. So let's go ahead and do that. And now let's go back to our theme. Okay, let's go ahead and find our trash icon. Let's say trash, something like this. Okay, this one is okay, so let's go ahead and use this one. Well, first of all, let me go back to our source code. Let me copy this, copy down, and now I can simply go ahead and copy the class name. I don't need to copy the entire icons. So let's go ahead and copy this, and now let's go ahead and replace our class right here. Okay, let's go ahead and replace that. Okay, now let's go ahead and save our file, and let's go back to our application. Now let's refresh. Yes, as you can see, we are having the trash icon next to our edit icon. Now let's go ahead and adjust our icons. Let's go ahead and change their color and then increase their size a bit. So let's go back to our source code, and now let's go ahead and add some styling to our table data right here, our action table data. So let's go ahead and say style. Let's say text align to center. To center these our icons to the middle of our column right here, and then let's go ahead and add some font size. Let's say 20 pixels to increase their size a little bit. So let's go ahead and save our file right now. Let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, as you can see, now they are centered and their size increased a bit. Okay, now let me go ahead and change the color to a darker color, and then go ahead and provide some margin in between them because they are too tight, they are too close to each other. So let's go ahead and do that. Now let's come over here and add styling to our anchor tag. So let's go ahead and say style, and let's go ahead and say color to, let me go ahead and use hash code hashtag 444, something like this. And then I'm going to go ahead and say margin right to, let's say 20 pixels, like so. And then let's go ahead and save our file. Now let's refresh. Okay, that's very cool. So let's go ahead and apply the same styling for our trash icons. So let's go back here, and now let's copy this our styling, copy this, and now let's add it to our second, which is our trash. But this time around we're not going to be needing the margin, like so, because the margin should only be applied to only this. The margin should be 20 pixels in between them, but we don't need any more margin by the right hand side of our trash icon. So that's all we have to do. So now let's go ahead and save our file, save, and now let's refresh our file. Yes, how cool is this? We have now successfully added our edit and delete icons. Let me go ahead and give some more space in between this. Actually, let me go ahead and increase it to 30, like so. Say 30. Let's go ahead and refresh our application. Okay, we have our serial number, we have our class name, we have our section and action. Well, actually, I think I should go ahead and add a class creation date. Yes, I think that should also be included, the date that each class is being created. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and add our class creation date. So let's go back to our code. Okay, now in between the section and the action, let me go ahead and copy this section, copy like so, and then I'm going to go ahead and call this creation date, like so. And then let's go ahead and add it after our section, Okay, let's go ahead and copy this, now paste it down below here, and this time around we're going to be targeting this column, the created at column. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and say it now, created art, like so. As you can see, this our created art column contains the date and time in which the classes are created. So that will be very cool. So let's go ahead and save our file, Save. And now let's go and refresh our application like so. Yes, as you can see, now we have added our creation date. Perfect. So friend, that will be it for this video. I hope everything is clear to you, and in our next video we're going to be creating our student class edit functionality. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.